Hi. Let me turn this down. Let me share my little watch party. Share, come in. Let's hang out tonight. Let's see. So let's see. How's everybody doing? I'm getting feedback from my other phone. Okay. I wonder if I turn it up. Let me turn up it.
It's as it was, which means it is as it was. We go back 4 years ago, this was the Trump map. So nothing has changed so far. Remember what we're seeing on the other map, because we're not done yet. We're not done yet. But if that
See if I'm getting feedback.
and that changes,
can y'all hear me?
Coming down to 273. So imagine that, right? So then, if you're looking around, Joe Biden, you have a chance in Arizona. We're not there yet. We got a long way to go before we get west, right?
Hey, Terrence. Hey, Dan.
At the end of the campaign in Michigan, he had a decent lead at the end of the campaign in Wisconsin. He thinks he can win Pennsylvania, although we'll see how that one goes. But it just tells you the menu.
So we are just gonna watch this bad boy.
But it just tells you that he has more options anyway, and if you can add Ohio to that, then it's just a buffet. I mean, it's a buffet of possibility to run it up and to take away the president's map. So if you're the president and you're looking at this right now, you have 306, right? So you're trying to figure out, what am I going to lose? Right? If you're in the president's campaign, what am I going to lose? Well, again, that was a double-digit lead, right? We don't know. You're going to count votes in Michigan. He's overcome deficits before. Not quite that big in 2016, though. It's a bigger deficit. But if you're in the president's campaign and you think you may lose those two, look where you are now. You're already at 280. And so if Joe Biden, if he can get Michigan and Wisconsin, we're just starting up here. There are other options. There's so many menu options. Those two coming in look like they were there. This is why, if you're the Trump campaign, at this point, you're getting nervous because that means you can't afford to lose that, right? And Joe Biden's leading there right now. And even if you hold that, there's just no way you can lose that. That would do it. And again, we're not done with Florida yet, although Trump's lead there seems pretty comfortable. We're not done with Florida yet. Joe Biden's competitive in Arizona. Texas is still early in the timeline. The idea is that the menu options are more plentiful for Joe Biden to get there. Doesn't mean he gets there, but if you're sitting in the Trump campaign right now, the state you're watching most nervously, well, I'll give you two. Number one is Ohio. Number two is North Carolina.
Well, let's look.
Let's come on over.
Viewers right now. Let's start with Ohio.
Let's come on over. Ohio, right here in the middle. Again, Michigan is red right now. It's a very early vote. Doesn't mean it won't end up that way. It certainly did 4 years ago. That was one of the big Trump surprises. But up here, when you see Pennsylvania blue, Michigan red, we're very, very early. We'll come back to them when we have a significant amount of votes. If we're not spending time on them, that means we don't have any significant votes yet. So we're not ready to do that. We do have significant votes here. And again, it's cliche but true. No Republican has won the White House in modern times without Ohio. So that's why we're going to spend a lot of time on this. If you look at this right now, again, 55%, 52 to 46. That's where you want to be. You want to be on top whenever, but we do have a ways to go. But if you watch this map play out, I just want to go back. Doesn't look a lot different, right? But just watch. Just watch where you see a little bit more blue when you come back in here. You see it up here in the suburbs. You see it up here along the lake. Again, suburbs outside of Toledo. This is where the Democrats are doing it. I haven't come over here at all tonight. Let me just take a look. Lucas County. Look at this. Only and again, here's your opportunity, right? Here's your opportunity. Joe Biden, right? 26. This is fully vote. Joe Biden, 33% and 30%. The margin still like percentage-wise. The margin still percentage-wise. Where years ago, Hillary Clinton won here 56, 38. See where you are now. 73, 26. That matters. That matters. The places where there are votes. Where there are votes. And you come across. Excuse me, earlier. This is Summit County here. This is Summit County here. You're dropping down south of Cleveland into Akron. This is the place where Donald Trump made inroads. 67% to 31 right now. We go back 4 years ago, 52, 43. It's a big difference. That's a big difference. So if Joe Biden can hold that, again, that gives you your cushion. And this was the central argument of the Biden campaign. Advocate from Scranton, middle class Joe, pick however you want to describe it. That I can go to these places, not only win them, but outperform Hillary Clinton, make them like they used to be when Democrats were more competitive in the state of Ohio. Move it over here again. You come along the river and the valley here, 61% to 31. Again, we're only halfway there. So let's just see. This is a place where the president has votes. We'll see if they turn out this time. He had votes last time. We'll see if they turn out this time. If I had votes last time, I just want to show you 46%, right? This was very close last time. It's the 10th of the 88 counties in Ohio. It's the 10th largest. So this matters in terms of the votes. And it matters not only here, you go across the border, then you're in Pennsylvania. These two come together in these blue-collar communities. This was the fight of 2016. Ohio was comfortable, but Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, it's the same people who swung it. So let's pull back out and take a look at it. Let's come back to 2020 and look. Where else are you looking? You look down here. Hamilton County is Cincinnati. Again, Joe Biden running it up 69, about halfway there again. So when you're halfway, you're looking at it, you're placing a marker. You say, that's where you want to be. That's actually outside where you want to be. Let's go back and look. 52% then, almost 70%, 69% now. That's a wow. If that stays there, that's a wow. But you're only halfway there. So you're thinking there's early vote here. The question is, what happens to the election day turnout? This used to be a Republican area. This is, again, a changing community because of the suburbs. And as Joe Biden tries to win Ohio tonight, and that would be a statement right there, game over. There's also a House seat right down in that same area. So you're watching the Democratic vote. You're watching how things play out as well. You come up here to Franklin County. Again, this is the capital. Democratic area right in Columbus. Labor unions, African-American vote. This is Democrat will run it up here. But it's when you get out here and you get out into the suburbs, if you're running 75%, you come back in time, 60%. That's a huge difference. I mean, that's quite, some of this math is difficult. Some of it's not. Look at that. You're at 60% then, 351,000 votes. You're at 74% now. We're only about halfway. So watch the vote total. If that percentage stays there as we go up. But again, we have election day votes to come in. So don't get ahead of yourself. But if you're looking at the building blocks and you're Joe Biden, you're looking at that and you're happy. But you also know 57% is not 90%. You want to get up there before you start feeling more comfortable about it. But that's huge. It's huge that we watch. And again, whether that changes or not, the fact that it is so competitive, the fact that Ohio is so competitive tells you Joe Biden's going to be stronger in Pennsylvania. He's going to be stronger in Michigan. He's likely to be stronger across the Midwest because there's so many places that are a lot alike in those states. There are some differences, but the similarities tell you if Joe Biden's doing that well here, especially in the eastern part of Ohio, that carries over into western Pennsylvania. If it does, it makes Biden a stronger candidate in a part of Pennsylvania. We don't have enough votes here yet, but Joe Biden needs to do well out here. He's got to win Allegheny County. The early votes there at president head. But if you go back to 2016, you see all this red out here, right? Let's just pick Westmoreland County here. Joe Biden does not need to win Westmoreland County, but you see the 64 right there. When this comes in, we don't have anything right now. If Joe Biden can make it 55-45, if he can make it 60-40, it's better. It's better. This is where we'll watch the debate come out. But the fact that Joe Biden is performing so well right now in these parts of Ohio bodes well for this part of Pennsylvania. But again, we'll count them as they come in. And just you pull out again, North Carolina is still blue. But Ohio and North Carolina, the later in the night we get, if Ohio and North Carolina stay blue, that is a warning shot straight into the Trump campaign headquarters. The president's at the White House tonight, up to 78% right now. It's come down some. It's 126,000 now. It was 160 earlier. It's starting to come down a little bit. That's the election day vote coming out. But you're up to 78%. You see it's 50-48. That's closer too. That's closer too. This is why we wait. This is why we count. The early vote had Biden ahead. It's closer, but we're still watching. I just want to see where we are. 82% Wake County. We have more vote to come. Again, does it get closer? 65-33, 58-38. You see the difference there? The question is, as we get the rest of it, can the president narrow this gap? He's not going to win Wake County. That's not the point. The point is, can he get closer? And those would be Republican votes out here in the suburbs. Same when you get up to Durham County. That's nuts, 82-17. Again, Secretary Clinton won this big too, 80-18. President needs to narrow that gap. That is the repudiation of the suburbs there. And you come back in. I just want to check down here in Mecklenburg County, number one. That's the largest by number one. I mean, most populous county. This is where the most votes are, Charlotte and the suburbs. 68% to 31% when you round it up. You come back again. Again, Joe Biden overperforming here. We have a ways to go in North Carolina. That's 2016. We come to 2020. Got a little ways to go, Wolf, but it's getting interesting.
Very interesting indeed. We have two more projections right now. I take a look at this. CNN now projects that Joe Biden will win the state of Connecticut. He beats Trump in Connecticut. He wins Connecticut 7 electoral votes. Trump, on the other hand, wins South Dakota. He beats Biden in South Dakota, 3 electoral votes in South Dakota. Trump is the winner there. Let's take a look at the Electoral College map where it stands right now. Biden has 80 electoral college votes. Trump has 51. You need 270 to be elected president of the United States. Let's go back to John King. John, I'm really anxious to take a look at Georgia right now, see where things stand in Georgia. Update our viewers.
So we're looking at Georgia 2020 right here. A healthy lead for the president right now, 322,000 votes, 58 to 40. A little more than a third of the estimated vote in. Democrats thought this was a state where they could be competitive. There are two Senate races at play here. One could be settled tonight, one likely to go to a runoff. We'll see how those play out as well. But that's what makes this state even more important. You have a presidential race. The balance of power in the Senate could also hinge on those two races in Georgia. So where are we right now? If you look at that, 36% in, that's a pretty comfortable lead for the president. The question is, what is still to come in this night that's a little different than previous election nights because of the mail-in voting, early in-person voting, and election day voting. But we'll watch it play out. So let's look. One of the things we've been looking at throughout the night is the president outperforming. He is in some counties right there. But this one tells you this one's important when you look at them. They're all important. Obviously, you like every vote you can get. But right here in DeKalb County outside of Atlanta, the president, he's getting, you see, oh, wow, it's very early. So I say it's important. It's important if it stays that way. You see that vote count right there is pretty low. It's important if it stays that way. Is the president underperforming anywhere in Georgia? Well, early on, I suspect I'm going to find the same thing, but I'm going to look in these counties here. The question is how much of the vote is in. Not much. Fulton County is Atlanta. One of the reasons, so Donald Trump has a comfortable lead right now in Georgia. Well, we don't have many votes out of the single largest county in Georgia. So that's one of the reasons we're going to keep looking at this state. The Democrats believe it's much more competitive than these numbers tell you are right now. So I say the president's underperforming there. Let's check in later in the night. There's not that many votes there right now. So we don't know enough. Let's see, is Biden outperforming Clinton anywhere? Again, it says he is up here. Very preliminary vote count, so I don't want to jump to any conclusions. We come down here and let's see. It's also really preliminary if you look at the vote counts. We have a long way to go in Georgia. You just go back and look at the count now. She won that county with 62,290 votes, and we're at 23 right now. We know turnout is up everywhere. So that tells me when you go through it, we're overperforming, underperforming. We'll check in on it later in the night. Right now, the vote counts are pretty small, so it's hard to know whether it's significant or not. But we got a long way to go. This is most of the votes are right here. It's a big state. It's an important. I'm not saying the other places are unimportant, but this is where most of the votes in Georgia are, right up here in Atlanta and the suburbs. So you start in Fulton County, you pull it out. I'm gonna get rid of the telestration so it doesn't distract anybody. This right here, 10% of the vote. We don't have much in yet. All right, then you move over here, Cobb County, about 30% of the vote in. That's good for Joe Biden if you're winning by that margin out there in the suburbs. You come back there, it was much more competitive. Again, suburbs, one of the biggest stories in America right now. American politics as they shift. Move over back to Fulton. You come to the suburbs to the east. Gwinnett, 15%. Again, a long way to go. So you see this, a lot of this is early vote, tends to be disproportionate Democrat. So you look there, you switch back, 51%. If it holds up, that's significant. You're overperforming Clinton there. But we're very preliminary when it comes to Georgia. So we want to wait and see how that plays out. I just want to pull out the map again just to see what else has changed. Texas has gone red. Remember earlier we had Texas blue for a while, starting to fill in some counties here. 66%, 1,300 votes in a state like Texas. So it's very competitive. A lot of these states are more competitive this time. And again, that's part of the story. This was not a close state 4 years ago, almost a 10-point race there, 807,000 votes, 4.6 million won it. Come back here just to look where we are, 3.8. We know turnout is up. So we have a ways to go in the state of Texas as we count through it. Just want to pull out and look at some more. Again, we don't expect Kansas to be blue at the end of the night, but there's a Senate race out there. Let's just watch. About 40% of the vote in. Where is it right now? It's coming mostly from here. You can see Riley County, Manhattan, Kansas. Fantastic military base out there. You come out here, you pull out. I want to check in here again because this is it right now. I mean, no offense to any other state. If Ohio stays, that would be the ball game, but we're still at 58% there. Just want to pull back out as we look. Just check down here to see if we've gotten any higher. We're up to 93% in Florida. By Florida standards, if this holds, a 3-point race, that's a big win by Florida standards, not in many states perhaps, but we'll see. We have a ways to go still in Florida as well. Just pulling out and looking. Again, these are the two that jump out at you right now. I know Pennsylvania blue, Michigan red, people looking, their votes are early there. We don't know enough about them. Let's just look. I suspect this is very early vote out in Colorado. You see that coming in there. Joe Biden up comfortably. We expect that one to stay blue. So Wolf, I'm a broken record. Well, you see it just had some votes pop up in Wisconsin, but very few. So you see President Trump, 2,300 vote lead early in Wisconsin. Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, all places where we expect to get sort of distorted results. Some states only election votes, some counties only election day votes, then early votes. We'll figure it all out. These ones are going to take a while. But again, North Carolina blue, Ohio blue, this time of the night, that makes it interesting.
Michigan and Wisconsin, pretty early right now.
Yeah.
We see the red,
Yeah.
but what, 17% of the vote is in Michigan. Trump is ahead by 200,000 votes.
17% of the vote is in, and you have the president of the United States leading Wayne County right now. But that's not going to happen. We don't know what
3% of the vote.
Right. We don't know what the margin is going to be in the end, but the president of the United States is not going to win Wayne County. No offense to the president of the United States, but that's just not going to happen. So that's how you just know this is one of those nights where, because of the different ways people voted, mail-in, in-person early, election day, there's going to be some distortions, if you will, some disruptions in the force. The main point is we'll look early on because they're all votes. We'll look at them early on. The key is where are we a couple hours from now? And in some of these states, where are we tomorrow and the day after? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Is that by the end of the night tonight, we could have some people saying we should be done? No. Legally cast ballots can be counted, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's Wednesday, if necessary Thursday. You have good people doing this in every state across the country. So when anyone says we're done, listen to your Secretary of State, listen to your county election officials. They'll tell you when we're done. Coming back to this again, just because I'm fascinated by it, this is a statement right now. Again, win or lose, Joe Biden is making Ohio competitive and making Republicans in Ohio nervous tonight and making people at the Trump campaign nervous tonight. I know you've spoken to him frequently during the COVID crisis. Governor DeWine was on our air earlier today saying he thought the president would squeak it out. There's still time. There's time to squeak it out. But that would be the ultimate statement right there. I just want to check in on Virginia again, because if you're in the Trump campaign headquarters, which is in Northern Virginia, you're looking at this and you're thinking, can that be real? I suspect, this is a state. When I started doing this, it was a Republican state. Then it became a purple state. It's considered a blue state now. Again, we're waiting. This is the biggest dump of votes right here. And we've seen this in previous campaigns, including the presidential election in 2016, Senate races in Virginia, governor's races in Virginia. The Republican candidate gets ahead. And then in Northern Virginia and down here, the Democratic vote comes in late. But we'll watch. It's interesting to watch. North Carolina is interesting. Maybe Virginia is interesting as well. That's why we count them. We'll go through. We're up to 80% here, 79%. Again, we're waiting for more of that election day, right? This is why the president did all these rallies late, waiting for the election day surge. But if you're in the Trump campaign headquarters, let me come back out to the map. You're happy? The red's down here. North Carolina blue, Ohio blue at this hour. Makes you nervous, Wolf.
All right, there's much more ahead as more polling places close at the top of the hour. Two more important battleground states are on the line, Iowa and Nevada. Election night in America continues in 2 minutes.
Election Night in America, brought to you by Borat, subsequent movie film, an Amazon original movie.
Don't miss the #1 movie on Prime Video.
And maybe a smiley face underneath to put him in a good mood.
Hey, all right, let me mute.
The whole black world.
You gotta be kidding me.
That's what you want.
I got somebody that strapped your car. This is my daughter. Only men and bears.
All right. Let me see. Let me take these off so we can see. Hold on. Let me turn my third. Let me put this on. Hold on.
Code. Download.
Hello. All right. So we are going to be watching the election results tonight, and I'm going to try to hang in there. Oh, where's the thing? I'm going to try to hang in there with you guys tonight. Let me know how I'm sounding. And let me see how we looking, y'all. Let me know how I'm sounding. I'm all right, Dan. I'm sounding. You getting any feedback? So we're going to be watching the results. These are right now. These are the projections. Okay, these are just what they are foreseeing. Okay, so we really don't even know where this is going to go. We probably won't know until tomorrow. I do have some questions. And I don't know, maybe in the chat room, some of y'all know how do they determine what states have electoral votes? Like, right? Like, how did Florida get all these electoral votes, and Pennsylvania and Michigan? Like, how did that happen? I'm gonna have to ask our commissioner Shelley Brazeley. Where's Shelley at? I'm gonna have to ask her what determined what states got all these electoral votes. You know what I'm saying? So that's one question. But so it's back on. Hold on, hold on. Let me turn it back on the camera. My camera.
Look at this, 79% of the estimated vote is in. Biden is ahead by almost 100,000 votes, 50.5% in North Carolina, 15 electoral votes in the state. In Ohio right now, 59% of the estimated vote is in. Biden is ahead there by about 132,000 votes, 51.1% to 40. Lead of about 200,000. Right now, 62.2% to 36.7% in Pennsylvania, 20 electoral votes at stake. 70% of the vote in Texas is in. Look at how close it is. Biden is ahead, but he's ahead by only 5,200 votes, 49.3% to 49.3%. Look at how close it is in Texas right now. Huge prize, 38 electoral votes in Texas. Let's take a look at some more states. Right now in Pennsylvania, 11% of the vote is in. Biden is ahead once again by 200,000 votes in Pennsylvania and Colorado. Biden is ahead. 32% of the vote is in Colorado. 235,000 vote lead in Colorado. In New Hampshire, right now, only 17% of the vote is in. Biden is ahead by some 15,000 votes, 54.4% to 44.3%. In New Hampshire. We have 5 more races we want to update you on right now. Let's start off in Florida. Right now, 93% of the vote is in. Trump has a pretty comfortable lead of more than 327,000 votes, 51% to Biden's 48% in Florida, 29 electoral votes at stake in Florida. Take a look at that. Let's move on to Michigan. Right now, 18% of the estimated vote is in. Trump is ahead by about 213,000 votes, 59.2% to 38.5% in Michigan, still relatively early in Michigan. In Virginia, 41% of the vote is in. Trump has a lead, a very impressive lead of 332,000 votes right now in the state of Virginia, 57.7% to 40.4% in Virginia, 13 electoral votes at stake. In Georgia, more than a third of the vote is in, 39%. Trump is ahead by more than 300,000 votes in Georgia right now, 56.9% to Biden's 42%. In Wisconsin, only 3% of the vote is in. Very, very early in the state of Wisconsin. Trump is up by about 11,000 votes, 54.3% to 44.1%. Let's take a look at the balance of power, what's going on in the U.S. Congress. Dana Bash is looking very closely at the U.S. Senate.
That's right, Wolf. We have 8 projections to make in U.S. Senate races, starting with the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and that is the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell. CNN can project that he will go on for another term. Same with Arkansas's Tom Cotton, keeps that seat going on for another term there. And in South Dakota, CNN can project that Mike Rounds will go back to Washington for a second term. Tennessee, this is an open seat. Lamar Alexander is retiring. CNN can project that Bill Hagerty will win a first term there. In West Virginia, Shelley Moore Capito is going on for another term, according to CNN projections. And in Delaware, CNN is projecting that Chris Coons is going to go back to Washington, representing that state. It was Joe Biden's old seat. New Hampshire, CNN is projecting Jeanne Shaheen is keeping her seat as well. And same goes for New Jersey. Cory Booker is going back to Washington representing New Jersey. Now let's look at some of the really important races we are watching right now. Colorado, right now, the Democratic challenger, John Hickenlooper, is ahead by a little more than 200,000 votes, 60.3%. The incumbent Republican Cory Gardner is at 38%, about 30% of the estimated vote in there. North Carolina, the Democratic challenger, Cal Cunningham, is ahead by just a little bit more than 57,000 votes at 48.5%. The incumbent Republican, Tom Tillis, at 47.3%. And in South Carolina, this is one that people across the country have been watching. Right now, the incumbent Republican, Lindsey Graham, is ahead pretty significantly. Now, let's look at what this all means in the big picture right now. Democrats are leading in 3 Republican seats. Democrats must pick up 4 Republican seats to flip the balance of power. And what is the balance of power right now? 39 Democrats, 36 Republicans, 25 seats remain to be called. Wolf?
All right. Thanks very much, John. We'll get back to you. Let's have another projection right now. CNN projects that Joe Biden will win the state of Colorado, will win its 9 electoral votes. He beats Trump in Colorado. Trump, on the other hand, wins in North Dakota. CNN projects Trump will win in North Dakota, pick up its 3 electoral votes. Trump is the winner in North Dakota. Here's the Electoral College map where it stands right now as a result of these projections. Biden is up to 89 Electoral College votes. Trump has 54, 270 needed to win the presidency. Let's go back to John King at the Magic Wall. We're looking at all these races. 89 right now, Electoral College. This is the most important. 89 for Biden, 54 for Trump.
Right, starting to get the building blocks, right? And again, a lot of unpredictability in counting votes on some of the other maps. A lot of states in play like Ohio and North Carolina that would be flips for Joe Biden. This map so far filling in a predictable way, but that's because we haven't called the battleground states, and we'll see where we go. But 89 to 54, 270 is the goal. You see the Joe Biden lead. This is why you look at the big states. The big states are what get you the lead. Joe Biden has New York, right? That's why Florida, Texas, California will be blue at the end of the night. So that's why battlegrounds like Florida, Texas this year, Ohio, that's why they're so important, because they're big chunks. You want to, that's the best way to get there is to build big. Pennsylvania, the biggest of the blue wall states. So if you're looking at this map right now, there are no surprises so far on this map. Again, if you come over here, I just want to pull out 1 second, ask Brian to take a peek here. If you look at the 2020 map right now, we have Ohio blue right now. We have North Carolina blue right now. So let's come back over here and explain the significance of that, because we're at 89-54. You come back to the Trump map 4 years ago, right? Nothing has changed so far in the blue states. So far, Joe Biden is winning the Clinton states. The red states we've given to the president are states we expected him to win. But if you look at the map where we have it right now, and if that stays, right there, you get Donald Trump down to 273 and Joe Biden up to 265. So you're thinking, you have a scenario here where with just one more state, right? Just pick a state. There's 2 congressional districts here and here. That could get Joe Biden to 267. But you could get to 270 with just Michigan. Get to 270 with just Wisconsin. If Donald Trump somehow held on to Wisconsin from 2016, you could get, if you're Joe Biden, to 270 by flipping Arizona as we move west later in the night. This is the dynamic of the night. Joe Biden has more options. The menu to him gives him more options, especially if Ohio is competitive and North Carolina is competitive, and he's leading in those states right now. That is the challenge. President Trump has a much more narrow path to re-election as he tries to defend this map. And the Ohio and North Carolina early results, we're not there yet. They're all the more significant because we do know heading into the final days. And again, 2016, president was behind. He roared back. Election day turnout overwhelmed Hillary Clinton's lead in the polls. Joe Biden's lead in the polls was bigger this time. It was bigger in Michigan. It was bigger in Wisconsin. It was bigger in Pennsylvania. So there was a path for Joe Biden to win without Ohio, without North Carolina, without Georgia or Arizona. Joe Biden has more options on the map, which is why in the Trump campaign headquarters right now, you're looking at Florida, you're happy. We're not done yet. You're looking at Florida and you think, okay, we're doing pretty well, but you're looking at Ohio and you're looking at North Carolina, and I'll just move over here and do it. And that's what you're looking at, because you can't afford to lose. You don't want to give up anything from your 2016 map, but if you're going to give up anything from your 2016 map, you certainly don't want to give up 2 of your bigger prizes, which would be Ohio and North Carolina. Again, we're not there yet. And again, right now, Trump's leading in Virginia. So if there are trade-offs, if you give something up, if you lose in North Carolina, you get it back by taking Virginia. I just want to say, though, people watching at home, look at that. Look at that, right? Virginia is a state that has been trending blue, but, and here's the but, and this is the anomaly of tonight. We're getting different results at different times in these different states. So we have a lot of Democratic votes still to come in. Fairfax County is the biggest. I was looking at some of the other ones early. A lot of Democratic votes still to come in. We'll watch it. It's interesting, right? Maybe it's going to be closer than we thought. Maybe there's a Trump surprise there. We'll keep looking at it, but there's a lot of Democratic votes out still. So I suspect Virginia may change in a little bit. So we come down to North Carolina. Look at that lead, 85,000 now. What was the question earlier? We were 140 at one point, down to 113. Now we're down to 85,644. We told you early on the Biden big lead early was based on early votes. We know Democrats disproportionately voted early for COVID protection reasons. Democrats encouraged them to do so. And then Trump, all his rallies, what was the goal? Impressive, overwhelming election day turnout. That's what the president wanted. Is he getting it? We're up to 80%. We shall see. Right, 50.3 to 48.5, a much closer race in a state that is a 50-50 battleground. North Carolina may be the most competitive state in American politics. Maybe Florida is a close second. But when you look at the demographics of North Carolina, it is perhaps the most competitive state in American politics right now. Cumberland County, 57%, 90%. So you get to this point, 90% of the estimated vote. If you're a Democrat, you're thinking, how much more can I get out of this? If you're a Republican, you're thinking, can I just narrow the margins a little bit? 57.5, let's go back in time, 56.7, right? So you don't think that's a lot, right? 71,000 votes then, 16-point race. You come back here, 17-point race. Look at the turnout everywhere in America. And this is a good thing, whether you're a Democrat or Republican or independent. Look at that number right there. All right? In every county we're looking at, almost every county we're looking at, a higher vote total winning this time. That's a good thing. No matter who wins the election tonight, that's a good thing. More Americans came out and participated in the election. So we'll come there. Let's look at Wake County. That's Hillary Clinton then. That's Joe Biden now, from 58 to 65. That's a big deal. 355,000 votes, 302,000 votes, 53,000 more votes in the Democratic column there. Let's look at the president's numbers from 2016. 196, you come forward, 179. So higher turnout in this county. The president's not. He's got a ways to go, 80% there. We'll see if he can narrow the gap. And again, you're looking at these blue areas. You see the dots in the middle. These are your urban areas. This is all around America. Democrats run it up in the urban areas. The question then is, how do the Republicans do in the suburbs? He's getting shellacked. The president's getting shellacked there, as he did 4 years ago. He's getting beat here. Wolf, just one more. I just want to look quickly. Mecklenburg County, Charlotte in the suburbs. This is the most populous county in the state. 68 to 31 when you round up. 63 to 33. Again, doesn't seem like a lot. In a place that has the most votes in the state, that matters.
Yeah, 87% of the vote in that county out there. Let's check in with David Chalian, who's taking a very close look at North Carolina as well.
I am indeed. Well, first, I just want to show you this board here. These are the states that Joe Biden is leading in that Donald Trump won 4 years ago. So in North Carolina, as you were just discussing with John, he's got a 1.77 percentage point lead over Donald Trump. In Ohio, he's just under a 2 percentage point lead over Donald Trump. And in Wisconsin, he's got just over a 2 percentage point lead over Donald Trump. 3 states that Donald Trump won 4 years ago. Let's look at North Carolina and look at what's going on there. What you see the state of play right now, you see that Joe Biden has 2.385 million votes compared to Donald Trump's 2.301. He's ahead with 80% of the estimated vote in. But here's what we have to look out for. All those big Democratic counties John was just talking about, it is mostly early vote. So look, of this 80% of the vote that's in, 90% of it right now in North Carolina statewide is early vote. We think that's going to come down. We think that at the end of the night, 75% of the total North Carolina vote will be early vote. So right now, the early vote is helping Joe Biden. But as more election day vote comes in North Carolina, Donald Trump may be able to benefit from that. So we just got to keep watching as those votes come in North Carolina.
All right, David, thank you very much. North Carolina, it's really important right now. Look, 80% of the vote is in. Biden's lead has gone down from 150,000 to now 84,000.
And David was just outlining the challenge for Joe Biden in North Carolina, in Ohio, in any of the battleground states, which is that the Democrats were happy with their early voting. In many of the states, if you looked at the data, disproportionately for the Democrats. So they got a couple laps in, if you will, on the Republicans. That's great. It's great to be leading the race, but you have to finish the race. And you finished the race today on Election Day. And that was the challenge for the Democrats. And that was the concern as they saw the president going around. How many rallies did he have in Pennsylvania? How many rallies did he have in North Carolina, Wisconsin, Michigan? The president retracing his 2016 map, trying to get voters out of the woodwork to vote today. And so as David makes the point here, you know, you've gone from 120 something to 111, now to 84,000 votes ahead. You want to be in the lead. You'd rather be in the lead always, of course, but now we're going to keep counting these election day votes. And so in some of these places, you know, you're in more rural counties. I keep coming back out to here, 95% in. If you're Joe Biden, you're happy because this is one of these Trump super counties. This is where he had a rally the other day. You hope that there's not many more votes to come here because you just see the margin, right? 30,000, just shy of 30,000 votes, the margin here. You come back 4 years ago, same idea. The president ran it up there by about 27,000. And you loosely run it up. This is one of the places. I call it Trump super counties where they go there for a reason because they know they have voters that they can turn out on Election Day, and that was the challenge. So now we're going to see the Democrats don't have to beat Donald Trump today in the Election Day vote. They don't have to beat him, but they have to be competitive. They can't get if they get shellacked today. you lose what you gained with the early vote. And so we're going to keep watching as this comes in. And we have some places where we still have no votes, right? So you're watching those as well. It's just the way for people to report this was a big Trump county. Not a ton of votes, but if you're down, right now you're down 84,000 votes. 4 years ago in this county, look at the difference. There's 24,000 votes more than that, 26,000 votes. So you can get them in the places we're missing. When you come back in here, some of the places we're missing are places where the president did quite well in 2016. So that's the concern. If you're in the Biden campaign headquarters, you like how this looks, but you know there's more to come. And so what every campaign does right now, they know what's missing. They know which counties, they know which precincts within those precincts. They know what their data tells them about who lives there and how they're doing.
Let's go to
So
Ohio.
Durham County there, 86%. Again, just one quick point before we do it, before we leave. This is a place where they ran it up 4 years ago, so that's not quite as significant. I want to move over here. This is the thing. We'll come back here to Raleigh, to Wake County and the suburbs. Does the math change or does the margin change as that election day vote comes in? So we'll use that as a marker. Now you want to go back to Ohio. And you come back here, 64%. It's been sort of we got some good votes early on, but it's been a slog since. And look how close that is. 13,461 votes. They call them battleground states for a reason. 49.5 to 49.2 with 64% in. And again, you have the same dynamics at play, especially in some of these smaller rural places. It doesn't look like a lot. You don't think this is a lot, right? Because it's 8,000 votes in a giant state like Ohio. But you're halfway in. You're getting 8,700 to the other guy's 2,900. That matters, right? That margin matters when you do it here, and then you do it here, and then you do it here, and then you do it here. That's how it adds up. And so, again, you'd rather be leading than trailing, but you're watching those leads shrink as election day vote comes in, and you're trying to figure out, is it enough to hold, or do we have trouble?
Let's go back to David Chalian. David, take a look at Ohio right now. How much of the vote is very close? Only a 13,000 vote lead for Biden in Ohio right now. How much is the early vote as opposed to the today vote?
Yeah, you're noting Joe Biden's very, very close lead over Donald Trump. That's with 64% of the vote in. But let me show you that right now, of that vote that's in, 41% of it is early vote. That's helping Joe Biden. But unlike North Carolina, we expect the early vote share to grow here in Ohio. At the end of the night, we estimated it should be about 53% of the overall vote. So there's potential as more early vote comes in, Joe Biden could potentially have that lead. It's something to watch. Obviously, those rural counties can help Trump as well. Jake?
Thanks, David. We're looking at the race having tightened up quite a bit from what some pundits were projecting. And right now, it really does look like President Trump has narrowed or even broken even in Florida and North Carolina and Georgia. So really, it is all coming down to what we said months and months ago, the blue wall of Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, the states that Hillary Clinton thought she had in the bag that Donald Trump tore down, Joe Biden trying to build it back up.
That's right. And, look, those states that you just talked about, it is not over. We are still watching them. But the whole MO of the Biden campaign from the beginning was to rebuild that blue wall. And there's also another state that's going to come in later, which is Arizona. And that is still one that the Biden campaign is really hoping to finally flip from red to blue.
Yeah, and I think that we also are looking at a situation in which Biden is not maybe expanding the map as much as they might have hoped that they would. The states that they thought that he had a good chance, maybe because of turnout, maybe because of demographics, are tight, which is fine, but it's election day and you have to actually win the state in order for it to matter. So, we don't know what's going to happen yet, but this is a map that, as you just said, is probably just going to come down to what we always thought it would come down to, that blue wall up there, that Biden really, really at this point must hold on to in order to get to.
Although the Biden people, we should say, have not conceded any Florida or Georgia or North Carolina, and they feel very good. They still feel good about North Carolina. They still feel very positive about Arizona and the blue wall. But it's just not going to be, as some Democrats were hoping for, that they thought it was going to be an early landslide, which was really always a pipe dream.
Yeah, I mean, there is no landslide that we're looking at. No way, given the numbers that we've seen, particularly when you start the night in Florida, when it's as tight as Florida tends to be. And it's maybe even less so right now as they continue to count the votes. What is interesting is Florida, one of the reasons why the Biden campaign thinks that they're doing not as well as they'd hoped is because they're really underperforming with Latino voters.
Right.
They're hoping to change that dynamic in a big way when Arizona starts to count the votes, that they're hoping that that is what helps to buoy them in Arizona.
Yeah, and that we talked about this earlier. The Latino voters in Florida, a great deal of them are Cuban American and Venezuelan American in southern Florida. Very different from the Mexican American, Central American voters, Latino voters in Nevada and Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing the same thing from Democrats who are saying, wait and see, because in Arizona, we might see a completely different story. Even in a state like North Carolina, we might see a different story where a smaller population of Latino voters could be very important for Biden if he is able to turn them out. But that being said, what is happening in Florida, I can tell you, Democrats are not happy about it. At the end of the day, the situation in Miami-Dade is something that in the autopsy of this election, they will be looking back at and trying to figure out what went wrong.
And I'll tell you what they think went wrong is that the attacks have worked.
Yeah.
Calling the Democrats socialists work with people in that area in particular and that
And a lot of
the population.
a lot of disinformation campaigns going on down there as well that we've covered on this air. Wolf?
All right, thanks very much, Jake. You know, John, let's take a look at Michigan and Virginia right now. What do we see?
Well, we're seeing red, number one. Michigan and Virginia. Virginia certainly we thought would be blue. It has increasingly become a blue state. Let's start at Michigan because Michigan, of course, was critical to the Trump win in 2016. You see a lot of red on the map right now. But again, 20% estimated reporting. We expect red up here. Let's give you a little 2016 flashback. A lot of red in this state, right? The question is, can Joe Biden flip it back? So let's come back to 2020. Remember the blue down here. That's from 2016. You don't have it down here right now. And again, so you look at Wayne County, that is Detroit and the suburbs around Detroit. Donald Trump leading right now. It's 3% of the vote. So this is a tiny amount of the vote here. You come up to Macomb County, 35% of the vote. If that holds, that's a big deal. But again, it's 35% of the vote. Macomb County 2020, legendary home of the Reagan Democrats. If you go back to the 80s, who were the blue-collar workers disaffected from the Democrats, supported Ronald Reagan. This is where the studies, Stan Greenberg, the Democratic pollster, did a lot of studies there. If you look at 2016, Hillary Clinton lost Macomb County by 10 points and change, 11 points there. And so this number here, if that holds up, that's a huge deal. That's Michigan, but this is very, very early. I just want to pull out again because I know people watching at home have told you there's going to be a lot of anomalies in the map tonight. There might also be surprises. That's why we continue to count them. This is one here, 56-41 in the Commonwealth of Virginia. You might expect Trump to pull ahead there at some point. That's a huge lead, about 45%. I just noticed earlier tonight, I just want to check one more time. Fairfax County, the largest county in the state, fast growing, hugely Democratic base, 27%. So there are votes to come in the Commonwealth of Virginia, but again, on a night where we expect maybe the unexpected in some places, we'll keep an eye on that.
Let's check in with David Chalian and give us some context on these two states, what we're talking about. We're talking about Michigan and Virginia.
Still early in Michigan, obviously, but that Donald Trump lead, 657,000 votes to Joe Biden's 436,000. That is with 20% of the estimated vote in Michigan in. So we want to know, well, how much of this is early vote right now? And take a look here. Only 11% of the vote that's in Michigan is early vote right now. We know that Joe Biden voters are the ones that tended to vote early. We expect that to go up to 55%. We think a slim majority of voters in Michigan will have voted before Election Day by mail, early voting. That could benefit Biden since he's doing better in the early vote in Michigan. He could overtake Donald Trump. Look at Virginia. John was just talking about some of those Democratic areas that are out in Virginia. Here's the current state of play. Donald Trump has a healthy lead there in Virginia with 45% of the vote in. What is the story of the early vote? Currently, of that vote that's in, 28% of it is early vote. And we know Joe Biden's doing better with early vote. We expect that to go up to 66%. So a huge swath of the early vote that is going to be a pro-Biden vote could help Joe Biden overtake Donald Trump's lead in Virginia. Specifically, we see almost no early vote in some of the really heavy Democratic counties of Fairfax and Alexandria.
All right, thanks very much. We've got two more projections right now. I take a look at this. CNN now projects that Donald Trump will win the state of South Carolina. He's the winner in South Carolina, will win its 9 electoral votes. CNN also projects Donald Trump will win in Alabama. will win its 9 electoral votes in the state of Alabama as well. And here's where the Electoral College map stands right now. It's close. Biden now has 89 Electoral College votes. Trump has 72 Electoral College votes, 270, of course, needed to win the presidency. We're getting deeper into the night and another round of results. We're counting down to the top of the hour, 10 p.m. Eastern. That's when polls will close in Iowa, Montana, Nevada, and Utah. Together, those states have 21 electoral votes. Every vote is vital to get to the winning total of 270. Iowa and Nevada are the battlegrounds to watch in the next hour. Joe Biden looking to hold on to Nevada for the Democrats, while the president is hoping to hold on to Iowa after winning it handily 4 years ago. Let's get a key race alert right now. Let's start with Ohio, a critical battleground state right now. 64% of the estimated vote is in. Look at how close it is in Ohio right now. Only a 13,000 vote lead for Biden over Trump. In Ohio, 49.5% for Biden. Look at that, how close it is. In North Carolina, 82% of the vote is in. Biden does have almost a 65,000 vote lead over Trump, 50.1% over there. In Pennsylvania, only 16% of the vote. Uh, 19% of the vote is in. Biden's lead is narrow, only 22,000 vote lead, 50.7% to 47.4% in Wisconsin. In Minnesota right now, a quarter of the vote is in. Biden has an impressive nearly 300,000 vote lead in Minnesota, 66.1% he's got there. In New Hampshire right now, 22% of the vote is in. Biden's lead has increased a bit to nearly 20,000, 54.3% to 44.4%. Let's take a look at 3 more states right now. Actually 5 more states right now. Florida right now, 93% of the vote is in. Trump has a pretty comfortable lead, 379,000 vote lead over Biden in Florida. In Michigan right now, 20% of the vote is in. Trump has an impressive 224,000 vote lead over Biden right now in Michigan. Right there in Georgia, almost half of the vote is in. Trump has a pretty impressive lead there as well. Nearly more than 364,000 vote lead over Biden in Georgia. 16 electoral votes there. In Texas, 76% of the estimated vote is in. Trump has a lead of 170,000 votes over Biden in the state of Texas, a huge prize, 38 electoral votes. In Virginia, 45% of the estimated vote is in. And look at this, Trump still has a pretty impressive lead of more than 311,000 votes in Virginia, 56.4% to 41.7%. Let's go to John King at the Magic Wall. So remind us, big picture, where we are right now in this race to 270.
Well, you're getting the building blocks, right? The building blocks are the solids, the states that you depend on. The Democrats depend on certain states. The Republicans depend on certain states. And the way this map is filling in right now, nothing here is a surprise. So both campaigns doing the building blocks to try to get you in a contention. To get to 270, you got to pass 100 first. We're getting close. 89 for Joe Biden, 72 for the president of the United States. And again, everything we see filled in, all these reds, we had them solid Trump coming in. All these blues, we had them Biden coming in. So we don't have any surprises right now as we look at the map. The question is, where are we going? And I'm going to ask you, Brian, again, just to swing around. We'll do a little choreography here. Texas red at the moment. We haven't called that one. Donald Trump has to hold it. Virginia red at the moment. That would be a shock. That would be a Clinton state that was taken away. But again, we're waiting for Democratic votes there. We're very early on. The map is going to be different tonight as we go through these different scenarios of mail-in votes, in-person early, election day, different states counting them in different order. So it's going to be different as we go through. But you just mentioned Joe Biden opening a lead in Minnesota and opening a lead in New Hampshire. Come back over here, and I'll show you why that's important. Hillary Clinton won both of those states, so people would say, no big deal. The Trump campaign understands. It understands. We'll go back to his map. It understands if we come back to the 306, 232, this was 4 years ago, the Trump campaign fully understands that Joe Biden is more competitive here than Hillary Clinton, led in the polls. Joe Biden is more competitive here than Hillary Clinton, led in the polls. So even if you just take Wisconsin, right, even if you just took Wisconsin away from the president here, if you take away this, right, so you're down, you're going away. And you take away this, right, so you're down some more here. Then you're worried about if that goes away, then you're underneath. So the Trump campaign, knowing that Joe Biden was more competitive in the blue wall states, was thinking, what can we get? So they were looking at states they just lost, right? They just lost. Minnesota was very close. Republicans make a run at it. I remember George W. Bush making a run at it. Republicans always make a run. They don't quite get there. But Trump thought he could get there. Trump thought he could pick this one up. I got to switch this here. Sorry about that. Trump thought he could pick this up, and then he thought maybe I can come here and get this, right? It's just, if you're going to subtract, you have to add. And so we're not done on those states. We're just counting the early votes. But you saw Mike Pence and the president both campaigning in those states in the final days of their campaign. When you know there's going to be subtraction, you look for addition. At the moment, we'll keep counting them. But at the moment, if those stay blue, that's a setback for Trump.
I want to go back to Dana Bash. She's got a significant projection in the balance of power in the U.S. Senate.
That's right, Wolf. In Colorado, CNN can project that John Hickenlooper, the former governor, the Democratic challenger, will be the next senator representing Colorado, defeating the incumbent Republican Cory Gardner. It's the first Democratic pickup of the night in the Senate. Democrats now must pick up 3 Republican seats. And right now, the balance of power is 40 Democrats, 36 Republicans, but 24 seats remain to be called tonight, Wolf.
Big pickup for the Democrats there. Thanks very much, Dana. So, John, we're looking at the big picture right now. The popular vote, not that it's all that important, but it's still significant. Trump has a significant lead right now, but we're really focused on the Electoral College.
We are, but it is interesting to watch it play out. Again, we're early in this chapter. And so whether the states look a little funny or different, whether some of those states are in play to change, and as you watch that play out, let's remember, we're early, right? We're still here. We're counting votes as we go. Some people are still voting out on the West Coast and everything. But it's one of the givens, if you will, was that Donald Trump would lose the popular vote again. He lost to Hillary Clinton 4 years ago. At the moment, he's ahead. That's not a surprise. The red states have come in first, but let's watch that as it plays out. If Joe Biden passes him, then the question is, how does it stretch out? So that's one way to look at it. And some people out there, I know, a lot of Democrats, having lived through Bush v. Gore and then Clinton versus Trump, you think we don't want the Electoral College. Well, we have it. That's the way we pick presidents right now. And so we'll watch that popular vote play out. But more importantly, we're going to watch these states. And again, as you noted, we were just talking about this a minute ago, we're early here, but Joe Biden pulling out to an early lead in Minnesota. It's one of those states. Each campaign looks at the last guy's map and says, what can I do to try to change it? The Trump campaign wanted Minnesota. They wanted New Hampshire. The Biden lead early on. We'll see if it changes. This one here, these are the fascinating. They're just, this is why we do this, Wolf. This is why it's exciting and fun. 13,000 votes now in Ohio, 64% for some time. So we're waiting. We're waiting for more votes to be counted. And again, we should all appreciate the challenge of these election officials all across the country, Democrats, Republicans, small county, big cities. It's a huge challenge. Turnout is up. You have the mix of voting, mail-in voting, in-person early. But right now, 49.5 to 49.2 in a state, the president must win. Joe Biden does not need this. He leads right now by just shy of 14,000 votes, 13,461. He does not need this, but he would like it. Just want to check to see where we are in the percentages. David Chalian talked a little bit about this earlier. We have to watch which vote is which, but 55% still, you have a lot of votes to count here in a deep blue county, Cuyahoga County, Cleveland, and the surrounding areas. If you're a Democrat, you think we'll do okay there. 58% here, so more votes to be counted in Summit County. You're running well ahead. If you're in the Biden campaign quarters, you say, okay, we got a ways to go here. Just want to move over here. About half of the votes counted. I'm just following the blue to see what's left to come in. So if you're Joe Biden, the question is, do you hold these margins? Or when more election day vote comes in, this is a place the president ran pretty strong 4 years ago, does he get the election day turnout to bring it back? That is the dynamic of the night in state after state after state, and we're going to have to watch it. But Ohio is a great battleground state. It's been a while. It was not a battleground last time. The president won it quite comfortably. North Carolina, you look at the margin now, 29,000 votes. It was above 100,000. It was close to 125,000 not that long ago. It is down, but 84% right now, 49.7 to 49.1. Just want to go back 4 years ago. This was a 3-point race, if you round up there, 4 years ago. Just look how close this is. And again, we're missing some counties. We're missing completely. See how many votes are here 4 years ago. 13. There's about 1,000 vote difference there, a little more than that, a little less than that 4 years ago. So you're looking to see what's missing in these counties. And the main place, just come check in here, up to 92%. The question is, again, what's missing? Is it they're counting early votes? Then you think Joe Biden will get more than his fair share of those. If it's all election day votes, that's where the president's campaign team thinks he'll do his advantage. So this is what our people are doing, and it's what all the campaigns are doing, calling into the places where we're still missing votes and figuring out what's missing. Which votes are they? Let's come back up here to county number 2, Wake County, up to 83%. Again, if you're Joe Biden, normally, in a normal election, you see this. You have a huge margin, 83%. You think you're going to build, right? Because you've been running it up all night. You have more votes to come in. The challenge this year is the mail-in, in-person early election day vote. They're different, right? We know Republicans were more likely to come out today. Democrats are more likely to vote early. So the normal rules don't always apply. You have to find out what's missing. So let's pull it out a little bit more. and come on the map and look at it, see if anything's changed while we've been here. I just want to check on the size of the president's lead here. 179,000 votes in Texas and some change. So we're going to wait in Texas as well. Just want to see how we're doing down here in Harris County. This is the largest county in the state, 82% of the vote in. So we'll continue to watch that. Joe Biden making it closer. The question is, can he find a way to the finish line? And we'll just pull out and look at the map. We're starting to fill it in. 50% to 48% in the popular vote. That's not how we pick a president, though, Wolf, and we'll keep counting.
We certainly will. And we're only moments away, John, from another round of poll closings. Voting is about to end in 4 states, including the key battlegrounds of Iowa and Nevada. A total of 21 electoral votes are on the line right now. We got a key race alert right now. We believe it's too early to call in Iowa, for example, 6 electoral votes right there. Too early to call in Nevada, right there, 6 electoral votes. Too early to call in Utah right now as well. Another 6 electoral votes there. It's too early to call in the state of Montana. 3 electoral votes right now. Let's take a look at the Electoral College map where things stand right now. There you can see in the race for 270 needed to win the presidency, Biden's still ahead. He has 89 Electoral College votes. Trump has 72 Electoral College votes. Let's get a key race alert right now. Here's where things stand in these key battleground states. Let's start in Ohio right now. 69% of the estimated vote is in Ohio. Trump is ahead by 102,000 votes over Biden, 50.5% to 48.1%. In North Carolina, 84% of the vote is in. Biden has a very small lead of nearly 30,000 votes, 49.7% to 49.1%. In Minnesota right now, 29% of the vote is in. Biden has a relatively comfortable 300,000 vote lead over Trump, 64.2% to 33.8%. In New Hampshire, more than a quarter of the vote is in. 26% of the vote is in. Biden has a nearly 20,000 vote lead over Trump, 53.6% to 45.1%. We've got 7 more states we want to check out right now. Let's check out Florida right now. Trump is pretty comfortably ahead with 93% of the vote is in. He's got a lead of 382,000 votes over Biden. In Florida, 29 electoral votes in Florida. In Pennsylvania, only 20% of the vote is in. Trump is ahead by some 46,000 votes, 51% to 47.7% in Pennsylvania. In Michigan right now, a quarter of the vote almost is in. Trump is ahead by 228,000 votes, but it's early. 23% of the estimated vote is in, 57%. In Texas, 77% of the vote is in. Trump has a 215,000 vote lead over Biden, 50.5% to 48.1%. In Wisconsin, more than a quarter of the vote is in. Trump has a narrow 28,000 vote lead over Biden. Right now, it's still early, 50.6% there. In Georgia, 51% of the vote is in. Trump has a pretty comfortable lead right now, 346,000 lead over Biden, 16 electoral votes in Georgia. In Virginia, more than half of the vote is in, 53%. Trump's lead is 189,000 votes over Biden, 53% to 45.3%. Let's walk over to John King at the Magic Wall. John, what are you looking at right now? What's jumping out at you?
Right now, I was just looking every now and then. I just like to look at president by county. I just like we look by states all the time. I just like to look by county. You'll see a lot more red counties in America. You always do. That's the way it works. But yeah, because of the smaller counties, but the Democrats win in the red counties. We're just taking a look at that. It's a personal curiosity as we go through the nights. And now we come back to this right here, 50.7 to 47.9 in the national vote. But that's not how we pick presidents. We look at 2020 right here. Look what has just happened in the last few minutes. Ohio is red. The president ahead right now. If you look at the vote there, 70% there, 128,000 lead. A big shift there as more votes come in the state of Ohio, 50.8 to 47.9. This is why we've been telling you throughout the night, it requires a little bit of patience on our part and on your part as well. They're counting votes in different ways, and so we're going to see some swings. And sometimes they're going to happen quickly when new votes come in. The President of the United States now leading in a state he must win, battleground Ohio, 50.8 to 47.9. 70%, still a ways to go. And as David Chalian noted earlier, we're waiting for some early vote here. We're waiting for states to count their votes. Some are doing it in a different order. Early voting, mail-in voting, and today voting. We'll see how it plays out. Just want to check to see if the margins are changing at all as we play through this. This is a big shift. This is a very big shift on the map. President Trump, Ohio goes back to red for now. We're not done. We have a ways to go. 30% of the count there. You're looking at Pennsylvania right now. If you're looking at this map right now, let me just pull it back out a second. If you're a Democrat sitting at home right now, you're looking at this map and you say, oh my, it's happening again. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. If you're a Republican, you're saying that's what we needed. Here's the thing. Slow down. We have a long way to go in all of these states. No offense to anybody, but we're 21% right here. We know Pennsylvania has some issues. Some of the mail-in votes won't even be counted until tomorrow. It's worth looking at. These are all real votes. The question is, we don't have context yet because we're so early in these states. So just be careful. Don't look at the map at this hour and make any judgments because we're in the middle chapters here. In some states, in the early chapters, again, the president has a lead in Michigan right now. Last time we were here, he was leading in Wayne County. We knew that that wasn't going to happen. Joe Biden is ahead now, but that's a tiny, tiny vote count. There's a long way to go in these states. That's what makes them interesting. They're going to flip back and forth a little bit. Let's move over to Wisconsin and look. And again, the president has a narrow lead here, 51 if you want to round that up, to 48 if you round that up. But again, 30% of the vote, a long way to go. So when you pull it out like this, people look at it at home and you think, wow, we're not done. We have a long way to go. In a lot of places, including Virginia is red right now. If the president can keep Virginia red, the president's going to be reelected. But we don't know this yet still. 53 to 45, that's actually gotten closer in recent times. And again, you come back up here. This is where elections in Virginia are won and lost. Northern Virginia is what has changed Virginia from a purple state to a blue state, and we're waiting still. We only have 28% of the vote. Fairfax County, it's the largest vote center in the state. It is Democratic, overwhelmingly so. So we'll see when votes come in here. Let's move down here. Look at this. Look at North Carolina. This was over 100,000 at one point. I think it was over 120,000 at one point. It is now 5,000. 2,000 as you speak. More votes come in. That's the magic. That is the magic of live data reporting and counting votes. 2,000 votes ahead, 49.4 to 49.4 in battleground North Carolina. Joe Biden doesn't need it, but if he gets it, he blocks the president's path to re-election. Most likely, this state, remember, and again, this is a textbook example of what we've asked throughout the night. Patience on our part, patience on your part. Early votes came in. Joe Biden built an early lead. Now we're getting election day votes in. North Carolina, tight.
Let's take a look at Arizona. The votes coming in relatively quickly in Arizona. I think nearly a quarter of the vote is in Arizona.
And so you see it blue right now. Not since Bill Clinton has Arizona ended the night. We're not at the end of the night, but not since Bill Clinton, with the help of Ross Perot, has Arizona gone blue. And so you look at it now, and you see the entire state. You see the familiar cities: Flagstaff, Sedona, Yuma, Tucson. Let's be honest. This comes down to Maricopa County and Phoenix, one of the fastest growing areas in America. 60% or more of the vote comes right out of here. 77% of it in. Again, we'll figure out what's missing from that. But Joe Biden at 54%, the president at 44, so a 10-point race, a little under 10-point race. Let's just go back and look at it. Excuse me, get that to click in. Again, so Donald Trump wins Arizona 4 years ago, wins Maricopa County. This is the biggest basket of votes. Phoenix and the fast-growing suburbs. 4 years later, from 2016 to 2020, this is one of the fastest growing states. You get out of Phoenix, you get down here, Goodyear and the like, fast growing suburbs. Again, the suburbs have revolted against this president. There's an important Senate race in this state as well. Let's come back to 2020 and look at the map. That Maricopa County is blue, is a source of joy in the Biden campaign right now. They have to keep it that way. Let's just look down here. Pima County, again, 64 if you round that up to 35, 80% of the vote in. You go back here, 54. So you're by 10 percentage points, you're overperforming Hillary Clinton. Just want to see how the turnout is here. 224,000 4 years ago, already 260,000. Again, one of the gifts of this election, no matter who wins, is turnout is up everywhere. That's a good thing. We want that to happen every time. But again, you see the split right there. Joe Biden overperforming Hillary Clinton there. You got some rural areas here to fill in the state. If you go back in time, you can see what happens here. The states, but this is it. This is it. Maricopa County, Phoenix, the suburbs around it. Again, traditionally Republican territory. Increasingly, because of demographics and because of the suburban revolt against the president of the United States, Maricopa County, if that holds up, that's the ball game in Arizona. But we got a ways to go there. It's the biggest piece of the state. Joe Biden doing what he has to do otherwise. And again, Wolf, we talked about this before. Both campaigns look at the last guy's map. So you look at the Trump map from 2016. If you're Joe Biden, priority one, hold every Clinton state, and then look for things to flip. If you can flip Arizona, you're chipping away at the president. So the main priority for the Biden campaign is that blue wall. Let's come back out and look. This is the main priority. Flip these guys back. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. If you do that, that's all you have to do if you're Joe Biden. That's all you have to do. But your backup plan, get something else, right? North Carolina is your hope. That one's getting close. If you can't get these, you go over here as well. You say North Carolina right there. That's 1,300 votes.
Basically a tie right now.
That's basically a tie. Again, if you end it that way, you win. A win is a win. But we got a ways to go. 86%. This is why they're so much fun. Let's just come back out here and see if anything's updated. No, still at 70% here. got to give these states credit in the challenge they face. Many of these states are reporting pretty quickly. And the challenge they face with all the different kinds of voting this year, it's a good thing to see. Just want to check. He wants to want to go back to Arizona here. I was going to check the upper Midwest, but as you see, 70% of the vote in here. And again, let's just see here, 70%. So 4 years ago, more conservative part of the state, 51. This is where we are now, 51 to 46. Let's just go back, 48. So the president actually doing fine here, right? Doing better, at least so far, right there. 26,000 votes now, 25,000. So the president doing better here, running up some votes here. The problem for the president, when you look at it this way, don't come back to 2020, is that's great. That's what you want to do. You want to do better everywhere you can. The issue is way more people live here, way more people. And so you get 798,000, 77% in. Let's compare that to Secretary Clinton 4 years ago. She had 702,000 to end the night. We're not done yet. And she was at 45 with the president at 49. Joe Biden, 54%. That's game changing. If you can keep that there, we're still counting in Arizona. And again, that would be a flip. If I can walk over here, I just want to show you the significance of this as you come through this here. Let's come back to the president's map from 4 years ago. And again, if you're Joe Biden and you're looking at this map, you had a very comfortable lead here coming in. That would get the president down to 290. You had a lead here. That would get the president down to 280. Then if you can pick this up here, you're at 269, 269. Everybody at home, take a gasp right now. 269, 269. It never ends up this way, but we do have scenarios where it happens. And then if you're Joe Biden, you look up here in the state of Maine, you think you're going to pick up that second congressional district. Just that, right? Michigan, Wisconsin, that's just as, I mean, they're not easy to win, so I shouldn't say just. But Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and the congressional district there. There's also a congressional district in here, Nebraska and Maine. Do it by congressional district where Joe Biden is favored. So it is possible for Joe Biden to win the presidency. That's a squeaker, but that's why Arizona is so important. You're looking at this map, you're thinking, well, Trump, is he going to pull off Pennsylvania again? Joe Biden had, 5, 6, 7 point lead at the end of the race. Hillary Clinton had 3, 4 point lead at the end of the last race, but you're not sure. You're not sure about that. You think you're going to get it back, but you're not sure. You feel more comfortable about this. You feel more comfortable about that. If you can get that, that's the game. That's the game. You look at the last guy's map, you take something away. That's why Arizona matters. Also, just remember the demographics of the United States. When I started covering presidential politics, that was red. That was purple, competitive state. That was red. That was red. The changing of American demographics. I know tonight we're picking a president, 2020 and beyond, but we're also watching a changing country and how it votes. And it's fascinating. Now we'll come back to here because we're not done yet on these things. But here's where we are right now. As they start to build the building blocks up, this is where it gets interesting. 89 to 72. We're starting to fill in as we come over here. We're into the 10 o'clock hour, right? Yes, we are. I had to check the watch on that one. We're into the 10 o'clock hour, which is this is where in presidential politics, 10, 11, up to midnight.
Yeah, California, Oregon, Washington State, they're about to close at the top of the hour. Those are big states as well.
And they're counting more votes here, too. That's why as we get later into the night, this is why it matters more. And so let's just look at it again. Again, this is one Trump wanted to flip. Joe Biden wants to flip Arizona. Donald Trump wanted to flip Minnesota. Not happening if you look at it right now. So we don't see that yet. We'll watch them. We'll continue to watch it. Just want to keep checking in on these. Again, if you're in the Trump campaign headquarters, you're looking at Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. If you can hold those, then you hold the presidency, right? But again, we just want to remind you, you're going to see things on the map. You're going to hold for a while. But this is slower count. So we're going to see this play out. 30% of the vote in Wisconsin. You come over to Michigan. Again, some of this may come tomorrow. We'll see. They're going to do the best they can. As we get later in the night, we'll know more about that. And then you come over here to Pennsylvania. Again, very, very early in the night. You see, I just want to take a peek down here, see how we're doing in Philadelphia. Look, 70,000 votes in Philadelphia, which means nothing, which means we're just starting.
9%.
Yeah, we're just starting the night in Pennsylvania. So we need to be careful about drawing any conclusions there. So then let's look at where we do have a lot of votes, right? This is real business now. When you get to a place, 72% in Ohio, Donald Trump up, stretching that lead a little bit, 177,000 votes. The Republican governor, Mike DeWine, thought the president would squeak it out. We'll see. Got a ways to go yet. As David Chalian noted, there's some early votes still to be counted there, so this could swing again. That's why we count to the end. And I want to come back to North Carolina, which is now red for the president. 25,000 votes ahead. This again. You want to watch the map swing, right? Joe Biden had a big early lead in North Carolina. Democrats get optimistic, but we have to remember the difference of this night in the pandemic election, the different ways people voted and the different pace at which states are counting them. North Carolina now, the president ahead up to 88%, 49.6 to 49.2. That means we still have more to count, but you see the swing. And we're going to see that. We're going to see some states start out blue and go back red because of the way the votes are counted. Sometimes they count the early votes first or the mail-in votes first, and today votes, election day votes later. Other states do it in a different order, and they'll swing the other way, which is why we just got to finish. Don't try to end the book before we get to the finish line.
Right.
49.6 to 49.2. Let's pull this out. You see this red here. Again, this one here, I'm waiting to see up to 54% right now. There are some Democrats in Virginia who are starting to get a little nervous, and they're calling the Fairfax Board of Elections and saying, hello, can we get the votes? So let's see what happens. We watch that one play out and come down here, battleground Florida. Again, the president's starting to inch this one out a little bit. 51 to 2, 47.8, but 94%. Again, this is Florida. If that holds by Florida standards, that's a blowout, but we'll see. We'll go back 4 years ago, 49 to 48. One of the things we are seeing, one of the things we should make note of this, we have it earlier, is that the third-party candidates are not getting the votes they did 4 years ago. So you have winning candidates in states getting over 50%. The national vote still right there. Let's go back to Arizona and see if we've racked it up at all, up to 73% now, 210,000 votes ahead. Again, 54 to 45 if you round it up, 49 to 45 4 years ago. Joe Biden. Maricopa County is the difference right now. And again, the city of Phoenix, the suburbs around it. If you go to Arizona, you were there 10 years ago and 5 years ago and 5 weeks ago, you just know the change that's happening. This is one of the fastest changing places in America, growing out here in the suburbs. 800,000 votes, just shy of that for Joe Biden right now. I just want to go back and look at the math. Hillary Clinton got 700,000 votes, plus 702,703 if you round up Maricopa County 4 years ago. Again, turnout is up everywhere. Joe Biden's already surpassed that. 77% of the vote. That's a fascinating state. Isn't that fascinating? One of the questions about American politics is what's changing. Is it just a Trump change? Is it, if this finishes tonight, blue?
There are a few counties that haven't even reported.
Yes, they've got nothing in some of these counties here, Apache County out here. Again, there's not a ton of votes out here. If you just bring it up, 17,000, 8,000. So Maricopa is 60% or more of the vote, depending on the turnout. But it matters if it gets close. It certainly matters. And so that's one of the, you look at it, every vote counts. I don't mean to discount anybody's vote. Every vote counts. But in terms of the swing of the state, this is going to determine most of it. And you're at 77%. But to your point, when you get this higher, if it's close and you get this higher, that's when you're looking around. And that has been part of the marvel of Donald Trump's winning. Is that in places like that, even when he gets beat in the cities, not so much in Arizona, but in some of these other places, again, look at all the red in the middle of the map, right? Not a ton of people live here, but the president runs it up, gets his 6,000 votes here, gets his 14,000 votes here, and you go on and on and on, and that's how he does it. In these smaller counties, turnout is high, he runs it up, and so far, that's come down here. I just want to look one more time. That has stayed exactly the same, 25,482. South Carolina was blue for a little bit early on. You see that one going back to its DNA, the conservative state there. Georgia, not as competitive at the moment. Again, 52% though. So again, you're in this night where you have three different kinds of voting, different states, sometimes within a state, different counties reporting them in different order. The Democrats were hoping right here to have a closer state, but look, Fulton County still, again, a third of the vote. This is it. This is by far. And so you move around these counties here. You have Cobb here. You move Fulton here. You come out here. It's very slow. 1% here. So we have this is the bulk of the vote in the state.
Georgia potentially could become a lot more competitive because a lot of the major Democratic counties have not reported yet.
Right. Very low percentage here, all around the Atlanta metro area. And again, these are the smaller ones here, but still eighth of the counties. So you're looking Joe Biden's ahead, 72% here. You move closer into Atlanta. 68% here, but then you come over here just 1%. And again, you go back in time 4 years ago, Hillary Clinton won pretty big here, and Joe Biden, many believe, will do even better. A, higher turnout, B, suburban rejection of the president. So we have a long way to go. Maps can be deceptive when you have a big chunk of vote out in the Democratic area here. I just want to check down some other Democratic areas, about halfway there, not quite though. So there's more Democratic votes to be had there. Come over to the coast here. About 70% here, so some more votes, but fewer there. So you wait, and you see that's a pretty healthy lead, but it doesn't mean a big city like Atlanta, growing suburbs around Atlanta, you can make up some pretty big math when those votes come in, and we'll see when they come in.
I'm curious about Michigan, specifically what percentage of the vote in Detroit has come in?
So we have 30% statewide, and you come down here, and we have less than a third, 28% there. We've been through Wayne County on many an election night too. Sometimes it goes really late. Sometimes things get a little frustrating waiting for the count to come in. I'll just use that word. But 147,000, 113,000, 28%. So you come up here again. Now you're going to move up to Oakland County, the suburbs here, about halfway in the count here. This used to be reliably Republican territory, but it's become increasingly Democratic. So here's a question for you, right? Hillary Clinton, 51 to 44 when you were president there, 52 to 44 if you round up Secretary Clinton as well. Right now, Donald Trump doing a little better. So let's see what happens there. See if Michigan, again, we're early, very early in the count here, but that's what you're watching, right? Democrats, to win Michigan, Joe Biden has to, let me move it up a little bit. Joe Biden has to run it up in Detroit and then do well in the suburbs. And again, Macomb County, we're at 35%, so don't jump to any conclusions here. But this is one of the flips, right? This is one of the flips. Barack Obama carried Macomb County twice. What we call them pivot counties. You vote twice for Barack Obama, then you flip for Donald Trump. That has Democrats scratching their heads. Why did we lose those voters? And who are those voters? Well, in Macomb County, they work in the auto industry or they work in related industries like that. Blue-collar workers, people who work with their hands. This has been a problem for the Democrats. Joe Biden said he could get them back. So we'll see. We got a long way to go there, so you don't want to jump to any conclusions. But it's also important if you just pull Michigan up again and you go back to 2016, you don't see a ton of blue here, but you come back to 2012, this is the difference, right? Can Joe Biden, can the guy who was number 2 to Barack Obama on the ticket win back some of these areas that Barack Obama won when he carried these states, many of them quite convincingly? You see that this is Mitt Romney's birth state. I know he moved to Massachusetts, now he's in Utah, but this is where he was born. And Barack Obama beat him by 10 points. So the question is, can Joe Biden get those counties back? We're very early in the county of Michigan right now, a long way to go. And so again, if you're looking at the map from home, you say, if you're a Republican, you say, wow. If you're a Democrat, you say, uh-oh. But we're not done. We got a long way to go.
We certainly do. Let's go check it with Jake, Dana, and Abby.
Thanks, Wolf. So we need to caution our viewers out there. It's early. Whether you're rooting for Trump or you're rooting for Biden, it's early. We're still counting the votes. I don't know if this is 2016 or 2018. You might remember in 2018, things looked really bad for Democrats or uncertain early on. But then, you know, after not just midnight struck, but a couple days, you saw that actually it had been a really great night for Democrats. On the other hand, it could be 2016 with things breaking for President Trump. We don't know. Everyone needs to just take a deep breath.
Which is hard. I mean, look, this is a nation that is on edge, so it's understandable. But as you said, as we have been telegraphing as we've approached tonight, it could take a while, and it is bearing out. And what I'm hearing from Democrats in particular, over and over, text after text, let's just wait and see what happens up north. Let's just wait and see what happens, meaning Michigan, Wisconsin, and not as north, but more further north, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Arizona is still an unanswered question about what's going on there, but this is what happens when you have a lot of battlegrounds. And in this cycle, we had a lot of states that were on the grid in terms of competitive races where you're going to have tight competitions between President Trump and Joe Biden. And we have to wait for all the votes to come in to really know where this thing is headed. I do think that based on where we are right now, we're in the choose your own adventure part. We're in the part of the choose your own adventure where we really need the patience. We really need people to just wait until it comes in, because it's not going to be an easy, early, quick night for people. These votes are coming in little by little, and it's tight in a lot of these.
Very tight. And when the polls would say before the election that Joe Biden was up 1 or 2 points in a state, but that was within the margin of error, that meant it was a toss-up, which is what we said.
We're seeing the margin of error play out.
And we still don't know about Florida. We still don't know about Georgia. We still don't know about North Carolina. And as we have also been saying, even if you were to give those states, all of them, to President Trump, and we're not, we're still waiting for a lot of outstanding vote, it really does come up to the 3 states up north, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and also Arizona. Those are the states that the Biden campaign has focused most on. And we still don't know what's going on there.
Yeah. And, you know, one of the things that you heard a lot from the Trump folks leading up to today is that they knew their job was just to get their people out and just to get them to the polls and ignore all of the public polling that we've all been talking about and looking at. And, you know, I do think that when you look at the Sun Belt, where we knew that there was elevated turnout, the president is still very competitive in those states that he had to hold on to. Georgia, North Carolina, Florida. He had to keep those states, and he's competitive there. And the reason for that is because his people showed up today.
That's exactly right. He needed this was a turnout election. It wasn't a persuasion election, meaning there weren't a lot of people out there going, do I vote for Joe Biden or do I vote for Donald Trump? Pretty much everybody made up their mind. The question is whether or not they were going to get out and vote. And the Trump campaign has in cooperation with the RNC, which has been working on its, vote what they call the voter vault since 2004. They have a really stellar operation, and they actually built it in recent years, modeled after Barack Obama's operation, because his was so good. That campaign's was so good when it came to data, and they've updated it more and more. The Democrats even will admit, and we were talking about this before, that they're a little bit slower on that, but they were relying on some of that, but a lot of enthusiasm.
And I would add that for Democrats, the task was even more difficult because they chose, for a lot of, they would say, really good reasons, not to be on the ground knocking on doors in the way that you might have seen leading up to a normal cycle because of the pandemic.
Right.
So there's no, when I talk to Democrats, everyone acknowledges that is a scenario that nobody anticipated, put them at a little bit at a disadvantage, but we may see some of that play out in the places where the president was able to get his people out. Maybe he didn't change any minds, but as long as he got his people out, their argument, their state of the case, their
theory of the case.
Theory of the case.
Yes.
Sorry, I cannot speak to that. Is that as long as they do that, they can be competitive, and that's the big question. He had to defend his term.
So, and first of all, you have to give credit to President Trump, even when it looked a few weeks ago like this thing was gone and out of his reach. He did work his tail off and get out there and get out to those counties and rally his supporters. And obviously that has paid off at the very least in making this race so competitive. And again, we don't know where it's going to end up. We have no idea. We still have yet to hear from Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and we're starting to hear from Arizona.
Yeah.
But also, I think, I just know that there are a lot of people out there who maybe paid attention only to the most Trump-hating pundits out there who were saying for weeks, if not, as they say, you can't get high on your own supply, right? You need
Did
to
they say that?
You need to be able to listen to everyone and all the pundits, left, right.
I feel like I'm
center,
learning
and
so
look
much,
at data.
so much tonight, Jake.
Well, I just think that there are some people out there who are disappointed.
No, you're
because
right.
They thought this thing was going to be over when.
And by the way, he's an incumbent president who has inherited.
But not just that, he has remarkably enthusiastic, loyal supporters all across the country.
But again, we're still waiting to hear.
We are.
Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona. Wolf?
All right, Jake, thank you. We love the commentary. Let's get a key race alert right now. Take a look at this. Arizona right now, 75% of the estimated vote is in. And Joe Biden has an impressive lead right now. Lead of more than 208,000 votes, 53.7% to 45%, 11 electoral votes in Arizona. More than a third of the vote is in New Hampshire right now. Biden has a 27,000 vote lead over Trump, 53.8% to 44.8%. In Minnesota, more than a third of the vote is in there, and Biden has an impressive 285,000 vote lead over Trump, 61.4% to 36.6%. In Iowa right now, 19% of the vote is in. Biden's lead is 85,000, 61% to 36.9%. We've got some more states right now. Let's take a look at these other states that are coming in. Michigan, a third of the vote is now in. Trump is ahead by some 210,000 votes, 54.7% to 43.4%. In Pennsylvania, almost a third of the vote is in. Trump is ahead by 179,000 votes, 53.4% to 45.2%. In Wisconsin, a third of the vote is in. It's very, very close. Trump is ahead by some 20,000 votes, 50% to 48.3%. In Georgia right now, more than half of the vote is in. Trump has a pretty comfortable lead in Georgia of 348,000 votes. Right now, 55.4%. We have a projection right now. Take a look at this. CNN projects that Joe Biden will win in New Mexico right now. Take a look at that. Joe Biden wins in New Mexico. There he is, the winner in New Mexico. That's 5 electoral votes in New Mexico. So let's see where the Electoral College map stands right now. Right now, with that win in New Mexico, Biden has 94 electoral votes. Trump has 72 electoral votes. The all-important race to 270 needed to win. 94 to 72 right now. 270 being the magic number. You're elected president if you get 270 votes. What are you seeing?
Well, you're seeing a map right now that's going to make Democrats nervous, and so which is why we need to emphasize the point that when you see red Pennsylvania, red Michigan, and red Wisconsin, we are very, 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 very early in the count there. However, if you look at this map right now, the name of the game, if you're Joe Biden, is takeaway, because Donald Trump's the incumbent president who won last time. And so we're not done yet. We're not done yet by any means, but you look at North Carolina, the president's stretching a lead out here, 89%. It's a modest lead, 42,423. But 49.8 to 49. Joe Biden had a lead early on. Donald Trump's election day surge puts him back in the lead. Can he hold it? We'll watch that as we play it out. The Republicans feel good about that. We're coming down to Florida now. And you look here, a 5.6 million for the president, 5.2. Higher turnout in Florida, a very competitive race. Again, we have to wait. We're going to count some things here, but Democrats are not happy, particularly with down here in Miami-Dade, 53%. You think 53, 46, you think that's great, but that's way below where Hillary Clinton was 4 years ago. So you're looking at this map here. The plus side for the Democrats is out here in Arizona, where Joe Biden right now, 75% of the vote, 54 if you round up to 45. That's a big shift from 4 years ago when the president won at 49, 45, a 4-point race. You see the president, Joe Biden, the Democrat, above 50 there. So let's just put this into context. Number one, this was the name of the game in 2016. We're not done. We're not done. We're not done. Some of these states could go on into tomorrow. But as you look at this map, many Democrats say it does raise the scenario many of them are worried about. An hour or two from now, is the president going to come out and say, I win, if he's still leading in those states? We're not done. That's not how we count. These states will decide who wins their elections, and we have a lot of votes to count. But the question is, the name of the game, well, if I'm going to switch maps here, is this is where we are right now. 94 to 72. There are no surprises on this map so far. Everything we see filled in is the way we thought it would go coming into the night. There are also, though, if you think about out here, where we haven't voted yet because it's still early in the night, people are still voting. We don't think any more surprises.
I can hear you.
If you will. And if one Clinton state made a run, we'll see.
Now I can't. You muted yourself.
Look at this map and say, what do I take away to get him below 270 and to get me to 270? So, Joe Biden wanted Florida. Not yet. We'll see what we can count.
Can't mute because guys
Wanted North Carolina.
close to mute because they. Are you muting yourself?
I unmuted.
Okay. Okay, you good. So let me see. I'm gonna move it for now. So I have. Let me turn my TV down. Hold on.
If you're not going to get Ohio, you haven't called it yet. We're waiting for stability, some votes out. North Carolina.
So how was the other
Well, I
watch party?
don't know. I got kind of knocked off. Actually, the thing is still circling, and so I don't really know what happened with that. Once I couldn't, get back on, I started monitoring Channel 12 because, the local elections, I want to see what's going on with those numbers as well. And I was looking at CNN. Unfortunately, News One didn't have anything. So, the numbers are interesting as they come in, as you will see.
Yes. So we were watching CNN, and of course it's too early. So they're doing all these projections that's making everybody nervous, and we don't even know. Like they're just, I don't think people understand that.
This is difficult because it's unprecedented. We never had this many. Just in Long Island, they had 900,000 people show up at the polls, and according to News 12, and 345,000 early voters, and they're not sure how many mail in, but right now they anticipate it's about 900,000. So, and that's just Long Island.
Okay.
So we have no way. New York State law, you have to hold on to those ballots for at least a week because you have to check each one to the books from the polls to make sure that none of those people voted at the
Right.
polls. If they did, then those early voting ballots have to be thrown out. And then you need someone from both sides of the aisles, Republican and Democrat, to witness. So it's not
Right.
it's a long process, you know. So it's going to be
Right.
at least a week, probably 2 weeks before we know what happened in this race. Yeah.
Really? You think it's gonna be that long? See, they not
Yeah.
telling. They ain't saying
And
that
you know,
part.
like I said, all the states have different laws. The states regulate the
Right.
laws for their voting, but in New York State, for sure, you have to hold that ballot for a week. So what they're doing now is opening up
Right.
the first envelope and time stamping the second
Okay.
envelope, but they're not opening that second envelope yet. They're just opening it and time stamping it. And on that second envelope, it's a barcode and it has, you know, that person's name and all their information on it. So then they'll be able to tell, you know, this week if they voted or not.
So, okay, so wait, so I wrote some questions down. So I was like, okay, so my first question was what determined what states have the amount of electoral votes? Was that established like at the beginning of the Constitution? Like when did that happen? Like how do we know Florida has this many
electoral
electoral votes? Where?
You know, this is why the census is so important. The census numbers determines how many,
So it's connected.
you know, how many
Okay.
congressional people you have, as well as how many electoral votes that you have. So it's based on population in your state.
So it can change. The electoral
They can
votes can
change
change. It
10
doesn't have to
years.
stay the same.
In 2010, New York State lost 2. We lost 2, right? I want to say Florida gained 2 and Texas gained 4. You know, and when this census comes in and it's all calculated, then that's when, you know, that's when your redistricting happens. That's when, you know, you know what political seats you're going to have, and you know how many electoral votes you're going to have.
Right. So we just got ahead of ourselves. Let me just introduce, this is Shelly Brazeley, and she is our commissioner of the Social Action Ministries in Eastern New York, 3rd jurisdiction, but she does so much more. That's like a small part of what she does. So just explain to the world what you do, really what you do. I mean, you are.
My name is Shelly Brazeley.
so
I
much
live in
more.
Long Island, and I serve where I can. That's it. You know, it's no big deal. We need help doing that, you know, especially from you young people with all this energy. I love the way you hit the street, but now there's so much more work that we have to do. There was so many ridiculous things going on at the polls today. My phone rang all day, literally, you know. And so we've got to position ourselves and organize ourselves and educate ourselves enough. And we're all doing this together, you know. Nobody really has, you know, this big coin on the market of knowing everything, you know. We have to rebuild together. And so right now, tomorrow morning, we need to be looking at what we currently have. We're not going to know the results of this race for another week or 2, right? But what do we have and what do we need? What do we want to see? You know, I know one thing's for sure. Most of us don't understand the process of these committee seats. What are they? You know, and that is something that we all could do.
Yeah.
You know, and in addition to those committee seats, what went wrong at these polls and what do we want to see happen? And what I think is, you know, the Board of Elections, they're working with what they're working with. They have the budget that they have. You know, they brought all these people in, trained them to work the polls. Well, what did that training look like?
Right.
And how much time could they put into it? So we, the people,
right,
need to be looking at that and probably getting some attorneys and other people to help us do training and train the people ourselves. And then send those people over to the Board of Elections
right,
to get paid to sit at the polls. You know, at least that way we know that people are adequately trained, you know?
Right. It's interesting because today when I went to go vote, and I did it because I wanted to see how, you know, I'm out here in New Hampshire, so you already know it's not, doesn't cater to us. So when I went in, it was interesting because someone came in and she was from Manhattan, and she came in and they had the absentee ballot area, and then they had the box, and then they had the regular voting. And the young lady wanted a provisional ballot. She was told that she could get a provisional ballot. Now, the lady at the absentee ballot didn't know what she was talking about. And I was like, okay. And so they were giving her wrong information. And so I was like, look, go to the Board of Elections and they can help you. You know what I'm saying? And from what I understand, the only state that has same-day registration is Connecticut. In the country, I think that's the only state. I think they do same-day registration. I was researching. But they couldn't help the young lady. They like you said, they were there just, I guess, as a body, you know. But
there's so many different caveats. I went to something that Amistad did a few years ago, and they informed us that people who move here and didn't change, you know, their address properly, even from another state, that they could go to the Supreme Court and see a judge and do an affidavit, and the judge makes them swear or whatever they make them do, and they vote. Dr. Young, Bishop Gates' mom, you know, she was one of the people, and she came in, she was helping us. We were working with Judge Carter. And she said, you know, she came to help us. And she said, even though I'm not going to be able to vote, you know, because I said, no, girl, I just went to a workshop and they said this, and this. And then on election day, you know, we weren't even open. His headquarters wasn't even open yet. And this person is banging on the door. I'm like, look, y'all, not open yet. So I go to the door and it's her. I'm so excited. I just voted. So there's a lot of information that we don't necessarily have. And unless we have these forums, and we get the information, because it was amazing. Like the week before I was at this forum, I got this information. Who knew I was going to be able to share it with her? And who knew she was going to take me up on it, go over and get it all done. Right. So there are some nuances in every state. Right. And that's why I'm saying we need to be training our own people, you know, and presenting this information to them so that if you do work the polls, you have more information that you're able to get in a 2 or 3 hour training session. Right. Something that's so important, you know.
Well, and that leads me to this question. I wrote my questions down. So when I was at the polls today, I noticed that one candidate was in all the parties. Can you do that? Like, one candidate was Democrat and he was Working Families and he was Republican. I was like, wait a minute. Like,
okay, so those candidates probably were judges. And what typically happens with judges is all the parties, because they're not supposed to really be political. Okay. They're judges, right? Okay. And so usually all the parties will cross endorse those judges.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now, I can tell you of at least 2 instances that I know that did not happen. And I'm not saying that that's the only time and it's the only party. But what I can share with you is in 2008, when President Barack Obama ran and won the first time, Judge Carnell Foskey was the supervising judge in Nassau County Family Court. And 2008 was a very exciting time for us. We won, you know, the election and the first African-American president, woohoo. But we also, in Nassau County, unelected the only African-American judge in family court.
Wow.
Now, what does that really mean, right? Family court is bigger than custody and child support. You know,
Yes.
it also determines where your juvenile 8, 9, 10-year-old who may have, you know, in there you've done something stupid.
Right.
You know, that family court judge will determine where that child is going to go. If that child is going to go upstate, 4 hours away from you, where you can not get to your child, or is going to be in the next community over in a group home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you need cultural competency in that court. And what happened is, once he lost that election, because he's Republican, and the Democrats didn't cross-endorse him. So in a presidential election like that, and Black folks typically just vote straight across.
Yeah,
just straight across. Foskey was unelected. He's a Republican judge, and he was not cross-endorsed.
Wow.
And then a few years ago, I think about 3 years ago, the same thing happened to Judge Gerald Carter, who was the only judge we had. You know, was he the only? I don't know. He was a very good judge, trying criminal cases. I think he was the only one at the time that was of African-American descent. And we all know what that means. We all sit around screaming and hollering about, oh, it's not fair. They just don't. Look, culturally, those people don't necessarily see our children as theirs. They don't necessarily put themselves in that child's place.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so they're not going to be judged the same. You know, and so we have to bear some responsibility when we don't pay attention to who these judges are on these ballots. So if you see somebody that has a Democrat and a Republican line, 9 times out of 10, that's going to be a judge.
Okay.
It doesn't really happen in any of the other races. Now, they may have the Democratic line, the working family line, you know, they may have some of those other lines, but you won't see them have the Democrat and Republican line if it's typically not a judge.
Okay. I noticed that on, let me see, I wanted to actually read it. That some, let me see, and I saw quite a few people do this. Let me see, hold on, let me see if I can bring it up. They had the flyer going around, the do me a favor, please join me in this election cycle in supporting my good friend Vander Hall. So people were putting on social media, please vote for this person.
Right.
And so how do you think that whole situation is going to go? Will we know, like, you know, so those type of votes, we know about those in the morning. I see like Cory Booker and they're announcing, but is it too early for them to know?
Well, that's why I was watching Channel 12, because you're not going to see those races, not really, or in the national realm. It's a state election, right? And on a local level. So you have to, you kind of have to be tuned in, not just CNN. Because CNN is focused on the presidential.
Right. Yes.
Period.
Yeah.
Channel 12 is looking at the presidential, but it's looking at the local races as well.
Too. Right. Okay.
Right. And so in the case of, that's the 18th Assembly District.
Right.
You had the Democrat who is the incumbent. You had Sharice Vanderhall, who's a Republican the 18th Assembly District is just straight Democrat for the most part.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then you have the Republican. The Republican candidate in the 18th rarely wins. As a matter of fact, the person held that seat, the deputy speaker, for 20 to almost 30 years, she held that seat. Taylor Darling won the election, that now they have to run every 2 years.
Right. Okay.
Taylor Darling got that seat, but the people are not pleased at all with Miss Darling.
Okay. Did you see in the patch that they had her as Republican?
Say that again?
In the Freeport patch. They had her as Republican and Vanderhall as Democrat. I'm listening to you.
Yeah, well, you listen. When we desperate, we do what we can.
Right, yeah, the tricks, right, right.
Everybody knows that people were not pleased with
Right.
Taylor Rayner
Right.
Darling.
Right.
And so Sharice, who we thought really didn't have a chance at all because, we vote straight across. I think there's been so much information and with regards to us doing workshops and having these chats and just letting people know that just voting row A straight across has not really been beneficial to our community.
Okay.
And I see a lot of people, asking questions. A lot of people calling me with regard to that, because in addition to the Democrat and Republican candidate, Earlene Hooper, who formerly held that seat for a couple of decades, she ran as a write-in.
Did she run this time, or she didn't run this time?
She ran this time as a write-in
Okay.
as well.
Okay. All right.
And so we don't know what that race is really going to look like. I know that the seniors, most especially, really support Ms. Hooper.
Okay.
The young people in that first election really supported Darling, but I see a lot of
people. She presented herself a different way in the beginning. Remember, she presented herself as a Spelman graduate, and she talked about her faith in God and how she lost her faith, all that whole thing. So she presented herself, and then she changed.
Yeah. Well, listen, she's young.
Yeah. Oh, look, I get it.
I'm hoping that, she will, if she's serious about running in politics, being in politics,
right,
that she will align herself with people that are a little more stable,
right,
and that can help her.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think we're very hard on our people. And don't get me wrong, there wasn't much that she did that I agreed with. Actually, I vehemently opposed most of the bills she put on the table because they were counterproductive for our community. You're in the 18th Assembly District, a district that was created to help the so-called, because I don't believe for a second, I hate, that minority piece, but, that district was created to empower, the community.
Right.
And it seemed like to me, just about every bill she put on the table was to take away from
right
the people, the disenfranchised people that she swore to help and protect.
Right.
And so that's what I mean. If she's serious about politics, she has to align herself with a more diverse group.
Right.
That can help her, and just not take the position that we're all against her because we don't agree.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I think in our community, we fall into this ridiculous stereotype that we all have to be on the same page. I'm perfectly fine with you being a Republican, as long as you think through the process and you make an independent thought.
Right.
What I don't like are these party people that turn into Stedford wives and they don't have an independent thought,
Right. Yeah.
That drives me crazy. And that's with both parties, but I think that we can disagree, our values don't have to necessarily be the same,
right,
but we've got to be able to reason and look at our community and make decisions that are going to help us and help our children grow and develop,
Right. Yeah.
So we have to mature there, though. We have
Right.
to mature.
I was watching news and they were talking about how some people were getting robocalls. Did you see that? They were getting robocalls telling them not to vote today due to the coronavirus and the long lines to wait and vote tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like all kind of stuff to get people to not vote.
Yeah. And these are all tactics to suppress the vote.
Right.
Primarily because we are uninformed We don't really understand political strategies. And we really, because by nature, we just not low down and dirty like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
As a people. So we're very naive when it comes to the cynicism that is definitely out there.
Right.
And so we're gullible.
Right.
And I think that, that's why shows like yours it is just really going to help us as a community, because bit by bit, we're tearing down these walls. Some of us believe that you have to vote straight across.
Right. I used to believe it.
I got into
this
big argument with someone that was a committee person and just really engaged in the process and had been for years. And he was telling me that, maybe now, because with these new machines, you could do that. But in the old days, you would jam the machine. I said, who told you that? I've been since I was 18. I'm 63. I've been doing this all my life.
Right.
Not voting straight across the, the line. And even when you had the machines and you had the,
Right.
He absolutely told me I was wrong, and I said, man, that's when I realized the shape that we're in as a people.
Right. The first time I realized that we didn't have to was when Obama got elected, because a lot of Republicans elected him. So that was an eye opener. I was like, wait a minute. So how Republicans, if we not supposed to go out of our party? And then that's when I was like, that was my wake up call.
Right. So we have to understand that when we're looking at candidates, we're looking at the person and their character and what they bring to the table, not what party they are. This party politics is counterproductive.
Yeah.
Because there are some Republicans that outshines the Democratic candidates.
Right.
There's some Democrats that outshine the Republican candidates.
Right.
And we've got to be able to assess it and ask God for discernment.
Yeah.
Have I made mistakes? Yes.
Right.
I've made mistakes in supporting people. The current DA, I was a big advocate in support, took her to all our churches.
Yeah.
And she's a horror story when it comes to the Black community, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
The decisions that are made now.
Right.
When I see her, it's just like, Shelly, you did that. Girl, you did that. So, we make mistakes.
Right.
The thing is, now that I'm looking at what's going on, what can we do about it? And, my position is tomorrow, we need to start raising money.
Yes.
And looking for the next person to run for DA. We need somebody fair and just and not just giving us lip service, but are you going to look at these cases, and do the right thing? Or is this going to be some political roast on another brother in our community? Because she takes to me to unduly go after our people. So, you live and you learn, but you learn. You have to learn from your mistakes and come up with strategies to help change those situations.
Right. Well, so moving forward, we're talking about we're going to be training people, and so hopefully soon you'll have something in. We probably got to brainstorm a little more, but at least going into the new year, we could try to have something in place, to educate people, even if it's like this, every Monday night or whatever night, Sam, Sam training,
Yeah, there's so many areas, social action ministry is bigger than politics.
Right.
You know what I mean? In my opinion and my vision for social action ministry is addressing disparities in our communities. You know what I mean? Helping us to be better, more civically minded, and better at that is looking at the disparities in education.
Right.
And how do we address those? Looking at the disparities in, even things as simple as when this COVID hit, and it was taking us out in record numbers. We lost so many soldiers, you know. But the thing that was just so outrageous to me was the number of GoFundMe pages to bury our loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, what's happening with us in insurance?
Right. Well, I think too, right now, ain't nobody think about insurance right now because ain't nobody got no job. Like, I just think that, right? I mean, before, okay, maybe people didn't have an excuse, but right now, I don't think insurance is on the list. I think people are struggling.
I think we struggling because, you know, I mean, look, there's a domino effect to everything.
Right.
You know, and not having insurance. Let's just consider this.
Mm-hmm.
If we had $1 million policies on our children, especially our boys,
mm-hmm.
do you really think that the insurance companies would allow, when those policies started coming in
mm-hmm.
and they had to start paying them?
Right.
Do you really think we wouldn't have to be screaming Black Lives Matters?
Right.
Those insurance companies would
mm-hmm.
be in DC lobbying for the police to stop killing our kids.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Number two, you know, wealth building and having a nest egg. Because
mm-hmm.
if you have the right insurance, it exceeds you burying your loved one.
Right.
There's something for you to invest or do something else with. So I don't see that we are positioned as a people not to make insurance a priority.
Right.
And
well, we're not taught that. Yeah. In school, they don't teach us that.
We have to see, and that's what I'm saying. Social action ministry is bigger than political strategies.
Right.
It's financial strategies. It's educational strategies. It's we need to look at all of the, and in addition to this, sis, what if these young people that can't find jobs all started, not all, but a few of them started insurance businesses. And we really started pushing the churches
to
make sure that that's a priority.
Right. Yeah.
Our kids could have, you know, if everybody now in the church is getting insurance,
mm-hmm.
this is a nice starter business for our young people.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's more than one way to look at it.
Right.
And start processing the information, but we got to plant the seeds.
Yeah. But even monthly, like maybe each month it could be a focus. You know, you got 12 months, and each month of 2021, this month we're going to focus on this. This month we're going to focus on this, and have, like you said, have things in place, have little fundraisers, have things in place so that we can just start training the young people and the older people, because I think everybody needs training when it comes to us.
We all need training. And you know, there's some, I mean, that whole political piece for Sam, you know, we'd have to be designated as a 501c. It's either 4 or 6 that we would have to get so that we could start raising money to help candidates and that kind of thing, and still be and so there's some legal things we would have to do.
But we can still raise the money and just put it to the side, and then when we get
what we want to do is make sure that we do everything right, because we don't want to give our opposition any fuel come after us, Yeah. And so we really, you're right. And a lot of this stuff I already have written down. I've already started dealing with the strategies and what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
But we need a debriefing after this. We need people who actually work the polls to come and sit with us and let us know what they felt the challenges were, so we know how to address that moving forward. You know, and then we have, I mean, you know, I have a vision for Sam, and a lot of it is already on paper. But now building a team is what we need, and completing the curriculums that I started. You know, because initially with Sam, it was for the Church of God in Christ, and we were going to give each church an opportunity to send 2 people, and we would do training, and those 2 would go back to their churches.
I remember that.
Start Sam. You know. And then once a month, we all come together and meet so that we can eventually build out a Black agenda, you know, for our church and our communities, our churches and our communities. It's picked up so much steam, and you know, a lot of people from other denominations have been contacting us. That's even better, you know, it's multi-denominational and social, because, you know, then there's, you know, different organizations, not-for-profit organizations. We're not positioned to leave anyone out. We have to come together as a people, and everybody brings something special, some area of expertise with them, you know, and so we're not all spinning our wheels because we have somebody over here that specializes in this, and you know. So I'm excited. I'm excited. The call that I was on earlier, you know, that was all of the sororities and fraternities and some of the churches, and the NAACP, you know, partnerships like that. That's what we need.
Yeah, that is what we need. Yes. And I think Kamala Harris is going to kind of bring a lot of that together with the sororities and, you know, coming together, and because I'm sure they're coming together voting for her. The HBCU got her back.
Yeah, and well, not only that, you know, the Asian community is strong, and you know, her mom is Indian, so that Asian community, you know, they have a vested interest, in her as well. So that's a bonus, you know, not only the African American community, but the Asian community,
and West Indian, because she's not even African American, she's Jamaican. Her dad is Jamaican, right? Her dad is Jamaican and her mom is Indian, but she grew up Baptist and Hindu.
So that's a lot of communities coming together.
Yes.
You know, that's a lot of communities coming together. So I think that, you know, she's I have a lot of respect.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, she's definitely a role model. She's definitely, I love it. So, what are you doing tomorrow around 9:00? Same 9 p.m. You gonna be around, or?
So what's the you know, the day? Oh, today's Tuesday.
Yeah, tomorrow's Wednesday. Because I want to do, like you said, a debriefing. I want to do a post-election day. You know, we're gonna. Tomorrow, you know, we wake up, we'll see what everybody's saying, and then come on tomorrow and do a commentary on what we seeing, you know, because they're not saying that it's going to take weeks for, like you're saying, like legally how they're supposed to be doing this thing. So they're saying, they are saying, you know, it's still too early, but
well, in New York State,
tomorrow,
they have to wait at least a week before they can.
And on social media, people are already talking about, Biden won New York, and I'm like, how did Biden win New York? Nobody even knows. And see, people just believe anything. They just believe anything. I'm like, first of all, these are projections.
And I think most people believe that all of the absentee ballots went to Biden. And I, because the news commentators, because I told you I was watching CNN and news channel, they're suggesting that, you know,
and each channel is different. Fox is different. Each depending on what station you watch, depends on who won.
But they feel like the people that did the early voting, for the most part, were Biden supporters. So if you estimate, you know, I don't know what the total is in New York State. The total number of absentee ballots, if they're 900,000 in just Long Island, you know, and you're looking at the votes that's coming in, that could be why they're saying, he got this, he got that. But you don't know who people vote.
You don't know, because I remember when Obama won the second one, they were saying that all the way to the end, and all of a sudden it was like, he won. But all the way to the end, they wasn't saying. They was like, you just have to wait and see, because. So I don't know. So tomorrow around 9:00, you gonna be?
I'm going. You know, I don't know. Honestly, every day is floating into each other. But I'm gonna look at my calendar right now and see if I wrote it down. But I'm not even writing stuff down. That's how bad it is. I don't have anything on here.
Okay, so I'm gonna send you the link again, and then hopefully you come on and we can do a post. I'm gonna do a flyer just like I did that one, and I'm gonna do a post election. Join us. Yes, I put in our commission. I tried to share this on the Facebook jurisdiction page, but I don't know how to do that. I don't know. You can do it.
Well, send it to me, and
yeah, I did. I tagged you. I tagged you in it. So okay, so then tomorrow, same time, same place. Everyone, meet us tomorrow. And anything that you don't understand, any questions that you have, I've been writing down questions as you can see. And our commissioner will be available to answer any questions that you have. She absolutely knows everything that there is to know about.
I really don't. Okay. I'm learning as I go. I'm learning as and that's, I need you to help me learn. That's all I'm saying. You know,
okay.
We need a team.
Right. Yes. And we'll actually tomorrow, hopefully, if you want to, you can, put out your call for what kind of team you're looking for, and if it's in different counties or Long Island, the state, or whatever, because first of all, Eastern New York 3rd is huge. So is it just going to be Eastern New York 3rd, or is it going to be other jurisdictions? Like, I guess tomorrow we come on, you can explain what you're really looking for. Or
there's a lot of people that help in SAM. Actually, most of my help are not even members of the Church of God in Christ.
Okay. Right.
People just see a need.
Right.
And because, our bishop is just such a huge personality.
Right.
He doesn't have a problem with that.
Right.
So I'm grateful that he doesn't have a problem with that. We really just need people. And a lot of times, especially young people, don't really know what they want to do.
Okay.
Come and figure it out. I'm not opposed to you working in different areas until you find your niche,
Right.
And let us help you find it.
Right.
But there's so many things that we need done for our community.
Right.
And to rebuild our community.
Yeah.
So, whatever it is,
mm-hmm.
We need your help.
Yes, we need your help. Okay, so tomorrow I'm gonna text you around 8:00 and just let you know that I'm gonna email you the link again, and we're gonna do a post election day commentary. Sam.
Well, let me say I appreciate you so much.
Yes.
Your energy, you never ever shut down. Like
I think that's the Bonner. That's a Bonner side. My granddaddy was like that. But no, I appreciate you because I'm learning so much. And I'm excited. I don't like not knowing. I don't like looking ignorant and looking stupid and you thinking you know and you don't be knowing, And that's how I'm looking on social media and everybody's like falling for the okie doke. And I'm like, guys, these are projections and they don't even know what they're talking about. This is media stuff. This is media. This is what they do. This is, to get the hype.
Some of those maps on CNN, it's like 20% they got 20% of the vote. What are you talking about? It's so early.
It is.
And California polls didn't even close yet.
Exactly.
And not just California, but that whole West Coast.
Right. Yeah. Right. Central.
They're 3 hours behind us, and so.
Right. We got a ways. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So tomorrow night, 9:00. Put in your calendar. You scratch it, Lydia. All right. So we won't be on long, but thank you for joining. And so I tag you so then you can share it on the SAM page or wherever else you want to share it. Okay. And all then right. All right. So I'll talk to you tomorrow, and let's continue to pray. Be prayerful that the right person wins. I'll just say that. All right. Love you.
Love you back, sis.
Okay. All right. Good night.
Good night.